This is it. This is potentially our final season with the Seattle Sea Cattle. While the original plan, of course, was to go the full 25 years, we have found ourselves over the past 5 to 7 years in quite the vicious cycle where even if you look at the roster now, we're going to be in the same spot moving forward as the Rogalskis and Tennells and Bengoas decline. Packard and Nesbitt will, of course, grow into what they were. And then, of course, Bengoa, Rogalski, Tennell will regress into what Nesbitt and Packard are now and what they were, of course, prior to the season. This is pretty much it. This year, maybe next year, maybe the year after that, but that would be the latest it would possibly be. Really, it's this year and next year where we would have an opportunity to succeed. And I think I'm just going to move on after this season. Of course, the roster editing spectacular is uploaded. You guys know that we're pretty much on the verge of our final series for NHL 18, which means it's about time for this series to come to a close. Whether or not it comes to a close with this episode, though, is really dependent on whether or not we make the playoffs. As it stands, with 19 games to go, we are 3 points out of the playoffs. This is what it comes down to. This episode will either be the final episode, before we, of course, get into the Hall of Fame voting, or this will be the beginning of one final, hopeful playoff push. You guys would have seen this lineup. This is what we're going to go with moving forward based on how players have performed this season. Whether or not it leads to any success, of course, unknown at this point. We will find out, though. And it's tough. It's tough to say that this could be the final episode of the series, but it's time. It's time. If we are ever going to find success again, it's going to be right now. So we are 3 points back of the Anaheim Ducks, again, with 19 games to go this season. Let's see what happens. Let's go 2 weeks at a time. We know that the Tacoma Evergreens will not be making the postseason. Granted, I don't really recall putting too much editing work into the Tacoma Doma. It was more just having an incredible name for their arena that we went forward with, as we have lost 3 straight, make it 4. Oh boy. Well, out of all the ways that could have gone in the first 2 weeks, that was probably the worst, as we only picked up 3 points from 6 games. And I would have to imagine the hill to climb to make it into the playoffs is that much worse, and it is. Calgary on 81 points, Dallas on 80. We are 7 points back. That is pretty much the worst way that this could have started off. Right, let's go a week at a time. Arizona, Tampa, and the New York Rangers. We lose to Arizona. We beat Tampa. We beat the Rangers. If we're going to make it, we have to win the vast majority of these games. It's a relatively late end to the regular season, so we still have a little bit of time. But those first few games, that was a pretty drastic slip up. 82 points for Dallas. We are on 77. Right. Every game is that much more important now. Boston, Montreal, Edmonton, and Anaheim. Our next 4. We lose to Boston 3-1. We lose to Montreal in a shootout. We lose to Edmonton. We beat Anaheim. But with 6 games to go, guys, this might be it. This might be it. It takes 89 points to get into the playoffs. I think we're done. Just like that, I think we're done. I think it's over. You know, when I started this episode, all of 4 minutes ago, I thought, okay, we're going to make the playoffs and we'll sim the first round. And instead, the worst case scenario has happened, as we have lost the vast majority of our games. We were on such a good run of form. To be honest, I mean, you could look at the lineup changes maybe being a negative, although it was putting performing players into a better situation, which hasn't exactly worked. Volk has dropped down to a 75 in the meantime. Yeah. I think that's it. We pretty much have to win our final 6 games to make anything happen. Let's sim the first 4: Detroit, Colorado, New Jersey, and San Jose, and we're done. We're done. Wow. That is heartbreaking, but that just kind of shows where we are as a team. 37, 36, and 9. The Seattle Seacattle will not make the playoffs. And we head towards the end of this series on a very disappointing note. The closest we ever happened to get. Losing in Game 7 to Winnipeg in the conference final. And that will be one of not only the biggest what-ifs in the history of this series, but NHL 18, maybe in the history of my channel. What would have happened? What would have happened had we made it to the Stanley Cup final? As Manny Jonas, we're already at that point now. Again, this episode's going to be so much shorter than I ever expected, but that's it. We're done. We have nobody coming up through the system that's going to help. This was it. And it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. The defense that should have been so much better. Wow. So, now's the time. Now is the time. Again, it sucks to say, but it's over. It's over. We failed. One of the, if not the most difficult challenge that we've ever had, just because of how limited of a prospect pool that we had. It's over. We waved the white flag a few episodes ago that allowed us to bring in someone like Nesbitt. And just because of the lack of prospects that we have, it's like I could sit there and flip draft picks and try like hell to make it work, but it's not going to happen. It just isn't. We're going to wave the white flag, not only on the original idea of this series, but on this series as a whole. It's over. We failed in numerous ways, but it's over. So now is the point in time where I get to ask you guys, in the comment section below, your nominees for the channel Hall of Fame for this series. So what we'll do is the next episode you'll see up from the Seacattle, we'll have the polls in the description where you guys can vote on the Hall of Fame. So really there's about 2 episodes left. There's the voting and then the voting results. Whether or not we have any Hall of Famers from this series, I'm intrigued to find out. We had some quality players, someone like a Manny Jonas, multi-time 30-goal scorer, a very prolific player, but is he Hall of Fame worthy? A Pete Rogalski as well, 20 to 30 goals, multiple 30-goal seasons, and of course we can't see his entire career. Is he Hall of Fame worthy? Is our Nicholas Backstrom, Tommy Tunnell, is he worthy of the Hall of Fame? Logan Volk was one of our more interesting players, I would say, particularly for a certain postseason performance. But Logan Volk, probably not, but he'll at least be a familiar name. And then if anybody has a chance to make the Hall of Fame, it would pretty much be the star of this series, the guy who we built this team around for so many years, Trent Bengoa, and I don't really care to know if he retires. I really don't. Bradley Sidhu, I mean, no. Just no. Nesbitt and Packard, we'll never quite know. I mean, as it is, again, it's the 2038 season. 37, 38, so we have, I believe, 3 seasons left. It's just, it's not going to happen. Normally, I'd go the full 25 years. It's not going to happen. Like I said, they're going to step up and replace the Bengoas, the Rogalskis, the Tunnells as they decline. Mainly Tunnell and Bengoa due to their age. But we don't have the prospects coming up. We don't have the next Packard and Nesbitt to supplement that. it's just we're going to fall short. And then you look at guys, like a McChesney and just certain guys who have underperformed for so many years. And really, it's this defense. It is this defense. I mean, you think of what that top four right there should have been capable of. They just haven't been. Evan O'Donnell might have an outside chance. Nearly 50 points every single season. Like, he was and has been one of the better defensemen that we've had in NHL 18. But Mile, Wakabayashi, Reza, I mean, maybe they'll get votes, but just I can't see it happening. And then Joshua Oshie, again, given what these teams have looked like, I still think he has been by far one of the better goaltenders we have ever had, particularly from the 2032, really up until the 2036-37 season, but especially 34-35. Amazing. Amazing. He is, without a doubt, one of our better goaltenders. I think it'd be a travesty for him to not be a Hall of Famer. I really do. Again, whether or not at the end of this, when we look back at all the series and say, okay, who was the best? Who were the best three forwards, the best two defensemen, and the best two goaltenders? Who would be the starting goaltender? I think Oshie's up there with the Jyrki Petrolainens, the Marcus Brodins. We talked about that recently. So while it sucks to say that this is over, I feel like it's the right move. I really do. And who knows what would have happened with Joseph Hainsey, as you can see some of those numbers. Who is to say what would have happened had we kept Joseph Hainsey? What would have happened had we not traded for a certain Jake Bengoa? It's a lot of what-ifs in this series. But there is one thing to say for sure, and that is that we're going to cut it now. It's over. We're going to end things early. Thank you guys for your support in this series. I really do appreciate it. Again, I hope it was an entertaining watch. Last few episodes, some people said, I'm not really digging it anymore. Well, hey, you might not have gotten your wish in terms of it ending, but, we did everything we could. And I just don't see it happening over the next few seasons anyway. Not with how the drafts have been. So that's it. It's over. I'll say one more time, of course, before, now that we're done with the simming again. The next few episodes will be Hall of Fame related. Thank you guys for watching. Not only this episode, but the entire series. I'm looking forward to who your nominations are. I'm looking forward to seeing how the voting goes and whether or not anybody in this series not only ends up in the Hall of Fame, but perhaps in the first team for NHL 18, the all-time NHL 18 team that we'll decide on at the very end of the game. Thank you. I love you all. Like, comment, subscribe, notification bell, and tell people what we got going on here. I will see you guys in the next one after the shortest Sea Cattle episode ever.